This is a great intro. Like, how can you not, be excited no matter which day of the week it is?
I feel like going home and watching Iron Man.
Soccer Mom Sunday here with Jennifer Cease and JV Anderson with a little bit of a different vibe than we had in the last couple as far as music goes, for sure.
Yeah, we ditched a little of the Gen X, went a little bit further back.
Yeah, and it has some significance for our next guest, which we'll bring on in a little bit. So very cool. Every team had like their songs right to play. At Lindenwood, we would play if we won. Or I didn't come up with the idea, but we would play Queen. Another One Bites the Dust. Like, bye, team who traveled to play with us. Like, how rude is that?
Well, I mean, it's there are worse things you could do, and thank God there wasn't social media because it would have been.
Yeah, I can't prove it. My word against yours. My memory against your memory.
Right.
Which is questionable at times.
What was your walk-up song as a player?
No, there were not. That did not exist.
I mean, in your mind. I mean, like when you were at home, putting your shoes on and put them in the bag.
Oh, so I was a cerebral player. So mine was probably like Don't Screw Up song. Whatever song's about don't screw up.
Were you like playing like Mongolian bowls or something just to zen out before a game?
No, so it was funny. My senior year, there were three of us were captains, and Dina her thing was she just wanted something from the vending machine. Got Dina going. She was our stopper, old time stopper. Hurt you, right? Karen would listen to Take on Me on her Walkman. Over and over. Walkman. I said Walkman. So any young people are not going to know what that is. And then for me, apparently I was so cerebral, like the assistant coach would like write me a pump me up note. So that it's like, you can do it.
You can do this.
Or like the head coach, Tim Champion, would be like, do the damn 1v1. Because I didn't like to do them. I just want to push the ball and go. I was fast. So just go. And he's like, do the 1v1. For the love of God, please.
For the love of God. Keep the ball.
So how's it been going? How's it on the soccer dad pod side? You stirring some stuff?
That's what we do.
Okay.
That is our calling card. We've had to eat a little bit of crow lately with the Kansas City game the other night. But excuse me, Mr. Greg Berhalter came to our savior.
Mr. Greg Berhalter stirred the pot himself, all by himself.
No. He was just honest. He was being honest. He was being forthright in his opinion of soccer relevance in the United States and what cities matter.
And it was not media prompted. Like, nobody asked who's the soccer capital. That was completely his own thoughts.
Yeah. So I took it on the chin for about 48 hours of these suburban Kansas City nerds telling me, hey. You guys lost to 11th place team. Ha ha ha. I'm like, well, we're still in the playoffs.
Hey.
And then
maybe see you there.
2 days. Yeah. Good luck. Love to see you. And then Berhalter the other day, unprompted, as you stated.
Unprompted.
Flat out said, we love coming here to St. Louis because this is the soccer capital of America. It always has been, blah, 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 blah. So
and
needless to say.
And then Twitterverse exploded.
Yeah. Soccer Dad Pod does not have more fans in Kansas City at this point. I can tell you that.
And St. Louis fans weren't, we didn't be like, oh, we weren't humble about it. We posted that shit is what we did.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. It was like finding a way to get it to Hubble. We're going to make this thing big.
Put it on the satellites.
Yeah. So, no, it's good. We've got a lot of great guests coming up, and the fall is going to be busy, kind of getting in a groove. Our kids they had their first game last weekend. We were up in Detroit, and you know the deal. It's time to get on the plane, get on the bus, find time for school.
Go down to Texas, where it's feels like it's 150 degrees. My daughter
you guys went down there, yeah?
Yeah, my husband and my daughter, who's on the 2008 Luke Hughes Academy team, went down, and the results were good. She came back tanked. And it wasn't because the flight came in at 1 a.m. I think it was from heat. She's just done. She still came home from school, slept. She's, going to come home from school in about an hour from now, probably sleep before practice. She's just exhausted.
Yeah, I think it's a form of child abuse to have any athletic event outside in Texas between February and November.
Yeah, we should all agree on a nice place to go and play. If we could all go to there.
I like the Carolinas. I like the Northwest too. little bit of rain, that's
Yeah.
fine. I'm down with that.
Yeah, and like yesterday at City, so this will be a little dated when this comes out, but on what day of the week is this now? Oh my God, we're Wednesday. Tuesday, the 5th, at St. Louis City, the U.S. men, they were off. They did not practice yesterday, but the U.S. men's national team were there, and it was chilly. It was like a weird, like welcome,
Loved
like
it.
false fall, but it's false. It's false because it's back to hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Goldfish are cooking today. It's back to normal.
Yeah, but it was really cool to be there and seeing the alumni, the men's alumni there. That the youngest one was Brad Davis there, and then
Right.
I don't remember who the oldest ones, but they were not only. It was so cool to see, and I'm not sure it hit with every one of them, but Tim Remet did, who kind of led a speech about what the alumni meant to them, and that
Yeah.
he knows one day he's going to be an alumni, and all these young men will be, and they were touched. I think they knew that they would be watching. They did not know that there was going to be like a ceremonial coin, and then their specific number. Like if you were the 466th player, like
Right.
that is your number, and it was like I think engraved on a case or something. Like, there were a few tears shed. It was awesome.
The thing that amazed me was the statistics, because Dave Lang was part of the whole
Yeah.
event, and obviously,
Mr. Leaker was there with his blazer.
yeah, and the
was
green
awesome.
blazer.
Which
I
is
always
good.
think
He got
I'm going to
good
call.
weather for it.
I'm like asking him if he's going to Augusta, like he's won the Masters or something, walking around in that green blazer all the time.
But you always know where he is. You can find him. It's like,
I
I
know.
need an interview. There's Jim.
Did you see that he wore that thing on the City home game a couple weeks ago when it was like 147 degrees?
No, I did not.
I was like, how are you, like-
Oh no, Jim. Gosh, I
know,
want you to be
just
okay.
Tossed a bucket of water on him. Like, come on, dude.
That's dedication, is what that is.
It is. And going back to the event, real quickly, the 76 players from St. Louis have capped. And based on all research, that's either 1 or 1B behind theoretically New York, but there's no way to prove how many players out of New York yet.
Of like 852 total, I think, because it was sitting there on a piece of paper in front of me. I think that was the number total.
Yeah, so roughly 10%.
Yeah.
Of all time, all U.S. men's national team players, 10% of them have come from St. Louis. So find third place.
Yeah.
How far behind is third place?
Yeah, for sure.
And I can tell you who's not even in the top 20. So
Here we go.
And their barbecue sucks. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
So that was cool yesterday for sure, and then today just at a regular practice. But today you got the city team practicing on one side, and then on the other practice field, the U.S. men's national team was rolling out, and it was so cool. Like they're coming over, warming up, and they're waving at city players that they know, and then city players, and the interview that I'll have for the next game will be Anthony Marcanic, and I asked him, I said, so hey, the U.S. men's team, have you met him? He just got really sheepish. He's like, not yet. I'm like, hey, they're using your balls. You should go take
him
it.
a bottle of water. hey, Christian, you look thirsty. You want some water? I got water.
And it is so weird to see this. He's 23. He's not a kid, but this young man who is still, finding himself, and he's still, he's around Leuven, he's around Berkey, and these are big, but then he's looking over there at not kids, young men who are closer to his age, and he's kind of geeking out. It's like the coolest thing to watch.
Well, for the kids, for the players, for our City 2 players, etc., and even the academy kids, because I was talking to Beckett about it the other day. Beckett obviously is on the U16s here.
I feel like some of the city academies were like wandering over, like, oh, I gotta go check. Where's my water bottle?
Well, I think, and their brains are working a lot faster than even our our interpretation of the situation. Beckett is immediately talking about some of the players. He's like, 4 days ago, he was in the San Siro playing Juventus, and he was in Old Trafford playing blah blah blah.
Yep.
Talking about that transition and where these guys are at in their careers and what they do, and now they're in their backyard. They're using their lockers.
Yeah.
They're drinking their water.
Right.
Oh my God, they use this
here.
ball.
They walked here.
It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I think it's one of those things that we've talked about the Taylor family. We've talked about, kind of what they've done in this whole organization. And those types of days are just kind of like, they're exclamation points on a much larger story of, we told you we were going to get this right. And, and that's the picture of those two teams today training side by side. It's like, we weren't joking around. This is legit, and it's going to keep going that way.
Isn't it going to be more awesome when we get an NWSL team? Just
Well,
to throw that out there.
Yeah, no. You know what? That's a perfect segue. I think it's that time.
Our guest is just nodding her head, vigorously.
She raised her hand real quick. Yes.
Yes. So, yeah, I'd like to welcome in Jackie Billet. So that's only actually what I should say. Like, if you're in St. Louis and you're of our age ilk, you know this name because, hi, Jackie.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So I wanted to lead the story first of tell you, so you don't know this because I never told you, I hated you.
Oh, great, thanks. I'm so honored to be here on multiple levels.
We're friends now. But, it's like, I didn't know you, right? And so there's a lot of times the first time you know a person is maybe as an opponent. And you only dislike the people who are really good, right? And so Jackie's, dribbling around us and like throwing me around, and like I was fast so I could get away with it, but then she's fast too. I'm like, dang it. And she's just this great player, and I'm pretty sure I'm a year older. I'm 73.
Yeah, I'm 72.
Oh, you're 72. So I mean, okay.
Oh,
so okay, close.
I'm 74.
No, you're 74. I knew it. I knew you were 74. I knew
Why are
that.
we telling people
so you're
my
playing.
age?
I'm sorry. So
I'm 75.
What? You
Yes.
baby.
I know.
He has to do what you
Is
say.
the
now.
gray hair give it away?
So here's this, this soccer player, and I had already played up, and then she's also playing up, and then I think you were first with White Star that I remember.
It was my first
playing.
club team.
Okay, it was, and if you're White Star, the Kittners, and they always were good, and it was this player that I didn't know, but everybody knew, and I always hear like, she's the nicest person. I'm like, she can't be possibly nice when you play like that, and I mean, because she's good. And then, later in life, got to get to know you as
Over
you're
30.
Like, oh, hey, we're over 30. We played together, and I'm like, I love her. She's the best.
It's full circle.
And it's like everybody's like, we told you. I'm like, I know she's such a great person. I love her to pieces.
So do you feel the same about the host here?
Oh my God, I loved it. I hated that she was so fast though, because she could
there
track
you
me
go.
down so often.
That was about all I could do, though. And then it was one-on-one. I'm like, oh, here, just take it, Jackie.
White Star, that was my first club team, but I was 12 years old.
I know, you were young.
So I didn't even know that club soccer even existed until we played, I don't even know what it was, CUAC districts at the time at St. Francis. And Tisa was like, hey, do you ever want to play club soccer? Like, I have this team. I'd love for you to come out. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know. We don't have the money. I don't know anything about that. And she was like, well, let's just come out. And so I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And so I went on a big bike ride with my neighbor the night, that morning. And then I put my finest clothes on. I had a purple Izod and purple shorts and purple socks. So I matched.
In 80s, by the way, totally 80s.
And I loved it. And it was instantly, I had so many great friends.
So what neighborhood did you grow up in?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question. I lived everywhere, but ultimately Oakville.
Oh, so you're a South County or
South
two?
County.
Yeah, she played for Oakville High School, too, and that was also annoying there, too. Yeah, because her Oakville team, so I was Fenton, go to Eureka. We did a decent team. We did fine. But at the time, at least for public schools, Oakville's who were like, oh, and we didn't get past Oakville ever. We had one game where I felt like we were close, but that was it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, for
we
us
didn't.
too, it was a big deal because it was more private versus public.
Well, you had. We didn't play quite as many private, I think, that you guys did. So you, what Koryezu, Ursuline was
Mainly
it?
St. Joe and Incarnate
St. Joe.
Word.
Oh, okay. So those were the ones that, So once they
who
stomped all over us,
Yeah,
they
who
went
did you
on.
hate more? St. Joe or Incarnate?
Probably St. Joe, just because
statute
I
of
had some of
limitations
my,
is up. Yeah.
I had some teammates on St. Joe, so it was always a internal rivalry.
Yeah, for sure. Because in one aspect, you're going to your club, then you're playing in high school, and just like you though too, kind of late. What felt like what we didn't know was late to the game. I was in 4th grade when I started playing select, and I didn't even understand what it was. My dad was just like, "We're just going to go to this practice." It was a Mastercraft team, orange and red, not good colors together. It was very Ronald McDonald, but it was interesting because I had my brain did not know what was different, other than these were all good players. That's about all I knew of the experience with select.
Well, there weren't as many players playing at the time like there are now. I mean, I think in Sliça I think I counted last year 82 clubs that are playing soccer.
I think Sarah Gunther talked about, so it's funny, full circle, you played for Oakville High School. Sarah Gunther, who was on our second episode, coaches now at Oakville High School, and she kind of made the same thing. She's like, there was one team, like, for the age group. One team in the club for the age group, not 20 teams in the same age group, or I'm exaggerating, but, a lot of teams where you could be, you can see it on even just slice of rosters for the season or slice a season list, where in one division's like, oh, there's 3 Lou Fuse teams, there's 3 Gallagher teams, and who else? But there's a lot of that in the bigger clubs for sure.
Well, at the end of the day, it's opportunity, right? We're providing opportunity for more people to play. Before, you had to have a certain amount of money, or you had to have transportation, or you couldn't play, right? You had to know somebody to play, and now everybody can play at any level.
What's interesting is that it brings up an argument that you will hear. So it was more black and white back then. You either maybe you did both, but my dad was like, we're going to play select now. You're going to have 2 practices a week. Oh my gosh. You're going to play select. You do select. You're not going to play CYC. I think he relented my 8th grade year because I found myself in the yearbook with the team. So he must have relented for some apparent run we wanted for city county. But that was a big deal. Like you did one or you did the other. And I feel like sometimes there are people that maybe still look for that, meaning not everybody should be select. And I don't know that that's true because you can get good training. You may not be the top team, but you can still get access to the same training and you can still play good soccer. And who knows what you'll be. So there's opportunity there, but it does dilute it a little bit. Which team are you at that club?
Yeah, but you can be who you want to be, and you're shaped by the environment that you're in. So whether you're playing CYC and you love playing soccer, or you're playing on the national team, or the GA or the ECNL or league, or wherever, it's just the environment that creates who you are.
Yeah.
Who were some of the early coaches for your club that kind of stand out? And what made them stand out in hindsight? For those kind of formative years, clearly you were playing up. You guys are very competitive. Who was steering the ship for you in the development years?
Well, John Kittner was my first coach at White Star, and him and his wife, Ursula Kittner. She was our manager at the time, and they were.
But she coached too, which I thought, for me as an opponent, I hadn't been coached by a female, and I was just like, wow. I didn't know that was a thing.
They were the most instrumental. And looking back now, I was talking to some of my teammates about this experience, and when they felt like they were kind of at a stopping point, like they couldn't get us to the next level, they always brought in other coaches, whether it was for a month, it was a few training sessions. And then eventually they felt like, we needed someone else to take over. And so then Mike Gavain, Vader, took over. And so everyone knows Mike Gavain,
yeah, right?
So anyway, he took us to the next level, and we were able to win nationals. So we won nationals under 19, and we were pretty much 16 years old. So,
wow.
And that was, that's what everybody played for at the time. Now there's so many different nationals that you can play for. So They were the most influential. Dave Robin obviously is my high school coach, is a Hall of Famer, St. Louis Hall of Famer. He was the first person that told me my position was a 10, and I was like, what is a 10? I'm not wearing a 10.
With those numbers.
My boyfriend thinks I'm a 9.
But that's the thing. I was like, when Marin came, my now 15-year-old, I think she was 12, and she's like, I'm either going to be the 6th. I'm like, excuse me, are you outside, or are you left, or are you right? She's like, Mom. I'm like, I didn't grow up with those numbers.
I know. So I think those coaches were the most influential. But it was the parents. Again, it's the environment. It's the parents, the players I played with. I was fortunate to play with the most elite of the elite in St. Louis. And it was so fun to play with like-minded players, and it was just an incredible experience. And, that took me to loving the game so much more. My brother was also a really big influence. He's the one... I'm a big proponent of unstructured play. I think moving forward, kids should be more unstructured. We do so much structured, and it's so you have to go here, and we have to go here, and we have to go here, and we have to
tick
go here.
The boxes.
But I was even laughing, driving here today, even the parks, they don't even have kickboards anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody used to just go play wall ball.
Yeah, you got 7,000 pickleball courts, but you don't have one futsal court.
Right.
In Webster,
Kickboards
Kirkwood.
were the best. Those were so fun.
They're so fun. So my brother and I used to play every day 1v1. So every day we would just go play 1v1. We didn't even think about it. We just played, and he ended up playing Division I soccer at Bradley University, and so he's my twin brother. And so it was great to see two kids out of the same family going to play Division I. And even before that, the other people were influencing, just the neighbors, in the community. Like, we played a game called Soar Soccer. So, like, literally on our street, there was like a street soar on one side and a street soar across the street. And those were our goals because we didn't have money for goals. And so, like,
soccer.
I feel like you've kind of like gone back to simpler times. But even when I'm talking to my daughter, I mean, she's only 10, but like, I feel like the game hasn't really changed that much, right? If you look at like the 1950 World Cup team, and we're fortunate to have to be exposed to some Hall of Famers like Bob Matson is, his daughter is in our club too, and Luke Hughes.
Yeah.
And so we get to see him. And so the game hasn't really changed that much, but the experiences are changing. We're instead of a local league in a community, like back in the day, they were just played CYC and you lived on these certain streets and you played in, and then you went to just playing in Sliça. And now we're flying everywhere. So it's a little different.
Well, especially from St. Louis. We were talking about a pre-show here. Your daughter's trip down to Texas. So often St. Louis teams, especially at the more developed clubs, even if it's only a 4-hour ride to Memphis or Kansas City or whatever, 9 times out, well, maybe not 9 times out of 10, 70% of the time, you're playing teams that you're not elevating your competition.
Exactly. We had the same experience this weekend in Iowa.
Same for us.
It was fun. It was more about the experience, and the kids were like, I think like 10 years from now, if you ask my daughter what was her most favorite experience in Iowa, it's the laser tag, it's the bowling, it's maybe the penalty kick that she scored. But at some point, it just becomes game after game after game after game, and instead of experience and fun and knowing how the ball is going to go off your foot at a certain place and how to handle a fast-paced ball, a slow-paced ball, a long ball, a short ball.
Yeah. And again, there's the things that you remember. She'll maybe remember that penalty kick, but the rest of the time in the games, unless there's like pivotal moments, you won't. But you will remember at the hotel or that time at a Panera. My kids always my daughter's team only goes to Paneras because they're all very picky. So it's like the parents give up and just say go there and find something. For
they don't do the old school Shoney's or Ponderosa
oh my god,
to feed us back in this. Yeah, exactly. Anything that was a $5 buffet, that's where our teams went.
Yeah, pretty much. That was the budget at the time. But yeah, it's those experiences, and of course you want good play. For my daughter's team, they trounced teams, so the competition level wasn't very good. And I know that Scietti with us, JB, talked a little bit about, the desire for her to want to make sure that there is soccer that can be, not that you can't travel a little bit, but local enough where she believes that you can find competition and we can develop competition that is closer. So we're not getting on planes all the time, except for maybe those pivotal moments to get competition. And, here we go. And she goes down to Texas and, whatever, they're GA and just whatever is there at this time or whoever she faced. I don't even remember the names of the teams. We're not. They were trouncing team 7-8 to nothing. They're just, playing around with the ball. You just
have to figure out, what does your child want? Do they want to play in the national team? Do they want to play in college? I mean, it's difficult to have a conversation with a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old about that. But really, realistically, can you judge your own talent ability? I mean, I went to school with Steve Ralston, another St. Louis Hall of Famer. Right. He played JV soccer with my brother at Oakville High School. No one would have thought that Steve would have been anything. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's playing Major League Soccer, he's playing on the national team, and he's a St. Louis Hall of Famer. So you just never know when that opportunity is going to take off for your team.
So I have a really funny story for you about Steve. It's totally relevant to this, which, by the way, he's coming on our show next week. So it's funny that you mentioned him because...
Very cool.
Damon Rensing? He was South City guy, right?
Yes.
So on his episode, Jared, my illustrious co-host, brings up you South County Hoosiers. It makes a comment like that, and out of the blue, I get a text from an unknown number. I think I want to come on your show because I need to address these South County Hoosier statements.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And it was Steve.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So it's funny because it's like kind of compartmentalizing this conversation that we're having, and the difference in generationally, the culture, the community, where we trained. I was much like you. I had a lot of siblings, and on our block there were 12 kids, 11 were boys. We were all within 4 years of one another. So our backyard was all cyclone fences, and those were the goals. you know, and you played and you just learned to compete and fight. And then you look at our kids now and the facilities, the training, the
They're
experiences.
amazing. I told my daughter yesterday when we were going to get pictures at Lou Fuse.
Right.
I said, if you decide to
Oh
play
yeah, it's
college,
picture week. I'm glad you said that. Dang, I almost forgot.
if you decide to play college soccer, your facilities are not going to be as good as these facilities.
No.
And
Quite
remember back in
likely,
the day
yeah.
when we playing on field 1 at Soccer Park, like nobody played on field 1 at
No.
Soccer
I
Park.
know.
No.
And like now everybody has turf,
Every
so nobody has to take that
snot-nosed
break.
kid in St. Louis gets field 1 on Friday nights.
Yeah.
Oh my God! When my daughter was 5, we did a kick around. We did like a little, kick and train kind of thing with the juniors program, and she was on field. 1, and I'm like, "What are you doing on field 1? This
Yeah,
is
that's it.
amazing."
You can't.
That's a typo. Do they have 11
You'd
fields
either be
now?
on that old turf that would, rip your legs off 2
Oh
and
my
3,
God, yeah.
or if you were really unimportant, you'd be behind the bleachers in field 1. Remember that the quote field back there. So yeah, it's changed.
So do you coach your own?
So currently, I'm not coaching because I have a job, and it seems like a lot of coaching positions, especially like Lou Fuse or Gallagher, most of them are full-time positions, and
Right.
so I'm not doing that. But I have coached her, and I do have a lot of coaching experience. It's so funny because so many people don't really know like what I've done in my coaching life or playing life because it's been
Yeah.
like so different, so many different places, and I don't really talk about it, right? I mean, I just
so
do.
wait,
You
quick
just
back
enjoy
it up,
it.
just so the listeners know, because for me, I'm like Jackie Billet, and we should know everything. So, not only a high level club player, high level high school player, because Oakville was the team to beat at the time for me anyway, and we're about the same age. Go on for college. Can you help bring us to speed with the college and then the youth or the national team, CAP, and you have that kind of experience.
Right. So I've coached CYC club soccer. In college, I coached boys soccer, heaven forbid, and in club soccer. And then I coached college soccer. I was a volunteer Division III. I was a head coach at a high school in Wisconsin. I was a Division I assistant coach. So I feel like I have my B coaching license. Like I feel like I've coached a lot. Mm-hmm. I was a referee, even though Terry Valley would say I was. We laugh about it. I say I was like the worst referee ever. But I do feel like really. I feel like it's really important for people to
Agreed.
take their certification to become a referee, whether you are one or you're not, because the rules are changing.
Yeah.
I mean, not that significantly, but everyone should know the rules. So,
Well,
and then playing wise, yes, I played at every single level, like CYC, high school, Olympic festival, college, national team, youth national team. So, over 30.
We
So
played
still
a
with
little bit
friends.
more. We played a little bit more. We made it to second in the over 30 women's cup, or the over 30, so open cup, but the over 30, we're not going to play 20, 18 and 20 year olds, but we made it to second.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like I've kind of gone full circle from like playing, loving it, having a strong passion, to also giving back, because, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. And so like people gave us scholarships, or, when I traveled to Europe with a regional team, we didn't have the money.
Yep.
And so people sponsored me to go, and I didn't appreciate it as much as the time because my dad, helped negotiate all that. And I'm like, now, like, so anytime anybody asks for about soccer, yes, I'll contribute. Because it is so expensive.
Yeah.
And even if you are a great soccer player, your family may not be able to afford GA. I'm a single mom, so I can't always get off work to fly across the country to go watch her play.
And we're not going in like the clubhouse for coping and making pizzas anymore as a team. I don't know why people let us do that.
And it
bought
doesn't
them.
seem like people even let their other kids travel with other families. Like everyone's like, no,
Thank you.
We
never went on a trip if you weren't partnered up with, so my mom or dad would be with another mom or dad, and then you would be hopefully with the teammate that you liked and liked you. You never not shared a room because nobody could afford it.
And we had the 15 passenger vans. Remember, you put like the shoe polish all over it and saying "We Are the Champions" and rock the 15 passenger van back and forth. I mean, those are the fun times. So I hope that ultimately that my daughter has the same experience and that she creates the best memories and fun. And of course, everyone wants to be, most people would say that they want to be on the national team or they want to play college soccer, but the percentage is so low.
Right.
So I'm hoping that, in the future here that we have such I wouldn't say grassroots effort, but we have the ability to touch so many more people outside of soccer. And it's the little things that are really important to me that I try to help with my daughter on the way to games. Like, if you want to be a captain, like, these are the characteristics of what a captain is, and this is how you demonstrate it. If you want more playing time, like, these coaches are really adamant about not having the parents get involved.
Absolutely.
The players ask the coach about, but you're asking young kids that they don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in sales and I'm still reworking all my questions on what do I ask and how do I ask it, and we want to eventually go, how come I'm not playing versus like,
yeah,
what do I need to do to improve my game so that I can get more experience? So I feel like there's a huge opportunity for us to take off from the mental aspect, which what you're doing with Minded Fine at Lufuse, and I think that's awesome. And I know Scott Gallagher has the same thing, that they're doing something very similar. And I think that there's such an opportunity to help the mass group of people that are involved in the game, from a leadership, from like, think about all these transferable skills that go into a business world. You're a captain, you're a leader, your nutrition is important. I'm a registered dietitian. Like, how are these kids eating? What do they have access to? Not everyone has access to organic food. Like, what do you have from the mental aspect, from the sports training aspect? I just think that, I don't know, that's one thing that I think, there's an opportunity to grow, because not everybody is going to be on the national team. So we need to develop good human beings.
Well, I think when it comes to how these clubs are addressing and encouraging the kids to be the point of contact at younger and younger ages, I totally see both sides of it, because it's like, look, you still have a young kid, a prepubescent or a pubescent teen who's got a lot of shit going on
who's
in their head. Who's
talking to somebody in authority, an adult.
That's
and that's scary.
Yeah, and so if I'm playing Switzerland on this thing, the upside is, you're talking about these life lessons, advocacy. Teaching kids at an earlier age to be able to advocate for yourself, that's going to carry forward into your friendships, your relationships, your professional career, etc. That is not a soccer trait, right? That's a life trait. And then on the soccer side of things, think about it from the standpoint of these clubs that are now, take the MLS clubs and the GAs in particular, in which it is free. I mean, that's just the math. They're testing their investment. Which of these players that we are going to invest all this money in, who's the leader? Who's going to solve problems? Who's going to communicate? So I can see it both ways, but the vast majority of the kids, the other 99%, they're trying to figure that out too. So the clubs are applying this, well, we need to find the leaders organically. It's a fine dance. How do you, or where do you see clubs today? Do you think that they are doing enough, too much, just right, as far as slowly trying to pull parents out of that player-coach relationship?
I mean, again, I think it's a loaded question. I think we are blessed in St. Louis to have unbelievable clubs that have great pathways for our children. Not every club in the United States, they're still playing kick and run, or their style of play is so different and not conducive to necessarily the national team level. So we're very blessed, and I feel like we are doing an unbelievable job. And just how you mentioned at the beginning, we have so many St. Louis Hall of Famers, and we have so many players that we can tap into their knowledge. It's a small network. It's a small community.
Right.
And showing these kids what good looks like, we have that ability. We have, Jen and I, we've talked before, is like, there's so many women now that have experience in playing, like,
yeah, they're likely on your sideline and you just don't know it.
Yeah, like, are we really tapping into the resources at any of these clubs? And do we know what people have, like, what experience that, like, people probably have no idea how much coaching, like, there's really, other than having an A coaching license, there's really not much more that I could have done. Playing wise, there's not really many more teams that I could have, but people have no idea about that side. But does the club need, like, resources like that, I think will take us to the next level. What's going to make one club different from the other club? I think standardization of, like, licenses is a big deal. If we're going to ask people to fly all over the country and spend all this money at the GA, ECNL level, I think there should be a standardization of licensing. Like, I mean, sure, everybody can do it, but I do think that there needs to be some standardization of licensing. But I do think there's a lot of opportunity that I think the focus is always on just the 4% or the 5% or the 6%, whatever, that are getting to the national team. And of course, we're excited. We had the U.S. women's national team, and we have players representing from the U.S. national team just out of St. Louis. But
yeah,
you know, we have the men's national team. We have that. We are seeing what good looks like. We are showing our kids. But
well, maybe a question for the two of you: are we defining the percentages in the category wrong? You know, it's just kind of like maybe not an aha moment, but just thought in my head. We historically think of the 1%ers as this path to pro, but should we maybe expand the percentage in the category to collegiate to pro? And there's a lot in the middle there too. More so obviously on the men's side.
Yeah.
The women's side is starting to develop, you know, because if we do start to include D1, D2, D3, and AIA, now we're talking about a lot of opportunities. Well, that's not 1%. That's more in the realm of 5, 6, 7%.
Yeah, like that's a good question. I don't know, like, which percent are we talking to? So if you sat in, you know, I sat at one of the clubs, accidentally went to the wrong meeting, and that club's boys meeting, they were talking about the 1%, where they're talking about the U.S. men's national team. They're talking about wanting to have a Tim Ream, right? It was a very different conversation on the girls' side. Very, very different. It was not organized. It wasn't, and it was kind of like, here, we want them to play. And it's like, well, there should be a pathway there too. But at the same time, and Bree McCarthy kind of talked about it, and so did Coach Guns, about how there was, it's kind of like, you know, between college, let's say you go up through NCAA 1, and then you've got these other leagues, and then you get to MLS Next and MLS Next Pro, MLS. There's less than that, and there's half or less teams in the MLS or in the NWSL. So the percentages could be different, men versus women, because there aren't as many opportunities still yet. In our day, there was like hardly anything.
Right, and I just think at the end of the day, it's still expensive. It was expensive for us to travel, but we went to one tournament a year. We went to WAGs. You know, that was like a big deal that and everybody got so excited about it. Now kids go to, you know, you can get on an airplane and fly every weekend and be somewhere. Like, how much family time is that taking away? Not even a financial cost, like family time, like you're taking away from your other children or your work environment. So it would be nice if sometimes at some point these clubs would maybe subsidize. So because maybe we're missing out on some kids that can't afford to travel. You know?
Oh, I think we for sure are. I know that there are, and I know some clubs offer, they'll ask as you're completing like your registration, like, would you like to be a referee, and would you like to do some things and volunteer so you can take parts off your club fees. I don't know what that actually does, but you know, I would think it would be sometimes, depending on the team, if you go everywhere, it's a drop in the bucket with what we pay.
Well, let me ask let's go historical question for you personally. You twin brother, you said that he went to Bradley. You obviously went to University of Wisconsin, and you've referenced a couple of times, you know, the financial situation that you guys were in. How cool was it for your parents, for your household, when the two of you approached that senior year and the scholarship offers start coming in? What did that really mean to your parents and those that had struggled to keep you active and keep you on these teams? How special of a moment was it for the two of you when your family knew that these siblings are about to go play Division I soccer at major universities?
Oh my God! I mean, everybody was just elated. I mean, because it may not have been possible to afford to go otherwise. I mean, maybe grants, maybe maybe loans, but I mean, it was almost like, yes, I got it. I did it.
Who'd you guys tell first? When you knew, was it mom, dad? Was it
my
the dog?
Dad probably at the time, just because I had, like, Wisconsin called me like every Tuesday at 3:00, and so I knew like we were getting closer to that situation. So
wow,
it was exciting. But yeah, I look at it differently from. You talk about historically, like I look at it differently when I coached in college. Like everybody was like, well, we're flying everywhere and we're traveling, we're doing this. Can you at least give my kid a book scholarship so that I can say that my kid got a scholarship? And it was like, no, we're only allowed so many scholarships, so we can't do that. And you know, at this level, this is not the perfect fit. This is not a good fit for your daughter to be even getting a book scholarship. So having those conversations on both ends, but being sensitive to to the family members because they have made it a big investment.
Yeah, and it's interesting too when you make an investment in that, and especially since it's so much more investment than our it was a stretch for my parents as well. CYC would have been much cheaper for me to just play, and so I knew, because my dad told me like how expensive this was. You're going to practice because I pay a lot of money for you to go to practice, right? And so I remember that, and then you look now, and it's almost any team, whether I've coached it or been on it, when you pay money, when you pay a lot of money, there is, whether you like it or not, there is a feeling that you are owed, right? So I spend, $3,000, let's say. I spent $3,000 and my kid made the academy team or the ECNL team. And I now expect them to play. Now,
or even Premier or Classic.
Yeah, or
you go down like what.
Yeah,
there is an expectation.
Yeah, you should. I mean, a kid. I don't believe that the kids should be, especially at whatever ages. Don't have them on the team if they're not going to play. Like, don't have as a co-assistant coach. You say, don't have a blood donor on there on a team that's not going to play, right? So you don't want that. But at the same time, I think still many times clubs are missing not just clear communication, but honest communication, like brutally honest, to be like, hey, okay, so everybody's at zero and nothing is guaranteed, and you could play as much as half or even less or whatever that looks like, and let then parents and kids make an informed decision, whereas many times I think it's kind of, it's soft shoot a little bit. It's like, well, we don't promise anybody playing time, which we know, but you don't know. But I've seen parents that are the best human beings, but when they're spending a ton of money and son or daughter is just sitting on the bench and they don't know, they turn into a different kind of human being sometimes.
Yeah, with that said though, I mean, it's not all about money, and you don't have to play in ECNL or GA or MLS Next to get a good scholarship or to go to a good school. I mean, there are so many other pathways. You can do ODP, you can go to an ID camp, you can go to their camps. There's just so many other avenues that you can to get to that endpoint. And I do think we can do a better job as parents being more informed of the pathway. But as coaches and as clubs, there are other ways to get to the endpoint. You don't have to play GA.
No.
Sure, you're going to get more exposure if you want to play maybe in the top colleges, but there's nothing that you can't go to an ID camp at theirs or call them or send them a video or ask them, here's my schedule. So I think sometimes we pigeonhole ourselves into a one track, and that's why I'm trying to be more open-minded. What kind of conversations are you having before and after the game with your kid? You didn't run hard enough, you didn't work hard enough, or is it hey, that Spain issue, do you understand kind of why there's even a debate? Do you if you have a coach that treats you like that, or an authority figure, whether it's a partner or someone in work,
anybody,
are you able to handle that situation? So my daughter's dyslexic and gifted, so it's twice exceptional. So when you mentioned advocating for yourself, we spend a lot of time inside and outside of school, advocating. How are you going to ask? Is this a better way to ask the question?
Yeah.
So
you share what is she doing tomorrow? There was on Thursday. It was tomorrow's Thursday, right? She's going to do something, and she's done something cool like that before. Would you mind sharing?
Right. I think I'm really a big proponent of you have to show what good looks like. So back in the day, we were talking about history so much today. If you didn't win State Cup, you didn't know how to properly train to get to State Cup, right? And if you didn't win State Cup, then you didn't properly know how to get to regionals. You assumed you did. I need to run extra, I need to train longer. But you really didn't know what it took. And so I think if you want to be a champion, if you have that opportunity to show what a champion does. So we have the opportunity to go to the men's press conference tomorrow through GoGo Applesauce, and we were fortunate to do it also for the women's national team.
And she got her question, right?
Her question was, she was able to answer the question. So she's just taking it to another level. She's seeing what practicers are looking like for the national team. So do you really want to do that? Do you want to dedicate your entire life and give up everything? The MLS and the academy kids, they're going online. They're missing out proms for GA and ECNL. They're missing out on parties. There's a huge dropout after sophomore year in high school because they're realizing, wow, it was fun to travel with my parents and my friends, but wow, there's another world out there that I haven't been able to tap into. So do I really want to do this? So do we have a place that provides for them to keep growing in the field, but also grow as a person? I don't know. I know that the focus is on soccer, and it should be on soccer, but I just think that we can make better human beings. Like,
and even if they are a 1%er, I'd like them to be good human beings too.
yeah, I mean, you want them because, right, ultimately they're the ones that are going to be mentoring your children. Like, they're the ones that are going to be giving back to, like, the coaches and to be the referees, and so...
Yeah, for sure. And to that point, in talking about kind of like the future, because you've got, a 10-year-old, and I've got a few kids that play too, and trying to take them through the journey of understanding what it takes. I think it also, when we talk about the drop-off, because you mentioned the drop-off with like sophomore year in high school, that's a pretty famous one. It also happens with seniors that decide, hey, I have a choice now. And it's some of the drop-off when people don't play isn't because they aren't good enough. They'll go and play intramural, and I've heard of intramural teams being amazing, but they'll just decide, like, I don't want to live the life, have a job as an athlete at school while I'm going to school, because they also realize there's life there too, or sometimes they're burned out, and now they have the ability to say, you can't sign me up for this, mom and dad, right? Like, this isn't
right.
you signing me up.
Like St. Louis, high school soccer is a really cool experience, and people want to be a part of it, and they're proud of it. And what high school did you go to? What, blah, blah, blah. But, in other states, it's not a big deal. So for the leagues to mandate that you can or cannot play, high school is difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because some people look back at their career, you can play college soccer, but are you really playing? But, you may look back and say, God, my high school won a state championship, and I remember that, and I remember the All-Star game, and you remember those bus rides where you're singing and dancing, and those kind of memories, way above what the experience of sitting on a bench maybe for college.
And back when we played, you and I, we kind of got to have it all. You could play club, you could also play high school from the way, because we actually had seasons, and you could do those things.
And you had downtime at Christmas. If you wanted to play, you played indoor at Beta.
Yeah, that's it.
But other than that, you had time off.
Yeah.
Our kids do not have time
now
off.
They have indoor softball, like even that was an untouchable sport, when it came to, now you can do indoor softball tournaments at like a rodeo place.
Right.
I've had a player do that. And so there's never any of that. So I think sometimes we take, though, that thinking to now, but everything's changed. Like, what is a season? It's all year long. But high school's kind of still the same. And now, before you could do both, but now you can't because the rules say you can't. But we want you to because you're really good. It's hard.
I think, too, obviously, for those of you that are, listeners of the show, this one as well as Soccer Dad Pod, this is a topic that we talk about all the time. And, I have a constantly evolving opinion of the whole situation, mainly because I'm on the front lines with my son in the academy. And obviously we talk to so many people now on these shows that have been on both sides of the fence, to the highest level of play, pre-academy and post-academy. And I think one of the things that's starting to happen is that the general popularity of the game is just exploding. And our kids are so much more aware, and frankly, even parents that have never played the game, they know who Messi is. They know, they know who Zidane is. All this stuff, and
you can look it up so easily.
Yes,
you don't know the player, you're like,
FIFA,
I'll look it up.
EA, my 9-year-old was making transactional trades on online, and he knows everything about these people, the players, etc. And here's my point: when the fandom of the game is picking up this much speed, and you look to the top, you look at the clubs, the greatest clubs in the world, the Chelseas, the Liverpools, the Real Madrids, etc., and then you look at a World Cup, just like what occurred on the women's side in particular, and you look at Spain and England and the way they played, Spain in particular, and they win it all, and you start to dissect, or you look at what are they doing different than us. Well, one of the common denominators is there is no high school over there. It is all club, it is all community, and it's all
and Bree, it was pretty much lost on Bree because she was in Canada, and she's like, why would you do that?
Right.
It's
well,
not
even
her
in the
thing.
United States, high school is not a big deal in a lot of states.
Yeah.
I remember 20 years ago going to a camp down in Houston, Texas, and they were like, that's when they started mandating, the club started mandating no high school soccer. Right. And they're like, what, are you kidding me? Like, I had, really winning high school state championships and playing with, Chris Vozix, Jenny Burton, Tisa Bauer, Amy Spinks. We played with unbelievable players, and I look back and that's like some of the best times of my life as a player.
Well, and I had similar experiences, and the thing is for me, like I've kind of resided to the reality or the fact that if academies had existed back then, not to toot my horn, and I'm sure you absolutely would have been in the same group, I wouldn't have been playing high school. I would have been on an academy team.
Exactly.
You would have been on a GA team. So
I wanted to be on an ODP team. My dad was just like, we can't do that.
yeah, so it's like we're a little bit not jaded, but our impression of the game and our experiences and what we think kids should or shouldn't be getting out of this process are definitely influenced by our own experiences. And a lot of it now, you know, when you really talk to the teenagers now that are kind of on the bubble or in the academy system, and you ask, are you afraid of missing homecoming or whatever? They look at you like like deer in headlights, like, why? You know,
because they don't know, right?
Exactly. We are only as good as what we do,
right.
And what we don't know, we don't know.
Right. With the information we have today is how we make our decisions. So
yeah. And that whole scene, too, has changed. I remember we forced our oldest, it was after COVID, right? So it was like, you're going to go to that homecoming or friendship dance with Webster. He goes to Kirkwood. And COVID just sucked so bad, right? And he was kind of like, wasn't coming out of his shell. And we're like, I was even like, you know, go have fun. And you don't have to, like, I'll pick you up. You know, like, just want him to go be a real boy. And he like stayed for 10 minutes and kind of like came home and I was like, what happened? Like, what happened? Whose ass am I kicking? Like who? And he's like, Mom, it was so lame. Like their generation is also different. The way they look at that kind of thing.
So let me frame it as just a direct question. You know, if we look at both the men's and the women's side, you start at the national team level. The national team level, they are looking through academies. That's where they're at. If you go to the professional level, same thing on both sides of the equation, you know, NWSL and obviously any men's pro leagues. Colleges are now shifting into the academy environment, and not exclusively, but the percentage is definitely increasing. What would you do, or how do you see the environment shifting or maybe accommodating what we've all been grown accustomed to and balancing in the life experiences and the playing experiences of high school with the clear-cut expectations at the higher and highest levels looking for the product elsewhere?
Well, I think there's a lot of questions in that question. I mean,
sure.
I think we think that the end-all be-all is GA or ECNL. It's not the end-all be-all. So, like, if you take that mindset away and, like, level set, like, what ultimately, like, whether it was your experience, like, how you were raised, whatever, ultimately you want your kid to have fun and have great memories, ultimately, right? And so if they're an elite player and they're not playing around elite-minded players, it's not going to be a fun, memorable experience with them. So ultimately, you have to be an advocate for your children and put them in an environment that's healthy for them. So, I mean, there's no reason to a kid that's not very athletic to aspire to be a GA player and put them in that GA and have them miss out on everything when they're just sitting on the bench. Mm-hmm. So I think we're constantly pivoting and constantly level setting what is going to be the pathway for our children. Like, what is the best learning environment for them, like, based on their abilities. And like I said at the very beginning, we're very blessed in St. Louis. We have a great pathway in St. Louis. We have a great 7v7, 9v9 curriculum up until 11v11. Like, they learn skills, they learn certain positions, you know, they're passing, they're moving out of the back. But, you know, just like in Kansas, it's their 7v7 is different. They play offsides. We don't play offsides. So I feel like if there's a standardization across America to a certain level, like through 9v9, then that level sets everybody. And then then the elite will go on, and then the next level will go on, and the next level will go on.
I think that's what kind of Sky Eddie talked about a little bit as well, is all those different pathways, and that the experience can be very individual. You know, somebody's experience might be high school and you know, being here in St. Louis, and you know who are the ones that lead St. Dominic, and you know that might be the be all end all, and that's okay for you, and it might not be your final, but it could be your final step in that. But it's very individualistic. I have 4 kids that are completely different. I can see 2 of them right now. Again, one's 12, one's 15, who knows what they're going to want in a year or two, but that are like, I want to be really competitive. I've got a 7-year-old who doesn't know and 17-year-old who decided to stop playing. And so their experiences cannot be the same, and they're different human beings. I would not want any of them playing so I could say, my kid's playing on the top team, if all they're doing is sitting the bench, yeah, they're getting the training, but you also have to play the game. And I also don't need a kid who's running roughshod all everybody, being the superstar, scoring 10 goals on his or her own, because they're also not getting the highest competition. So I think you're right. It has to be, you have to know the options and be somewhat selective and say, what's a good fit for, your kid, this kid at this time.
Right. Is it in how it seems like it's nearly impossible to fit it all in, right? I mean, there's just not enough hours in the day. There's people are demanding too much, and it's just not soccer. Obviously, the focus on this conversation is soccer, but my daughter also played tennis, and they play baseball, and they do have a limit on how many games that you can play a year and how many limits the pitchers and how many games that they can pitch. So do we need to go to that place? Like, I would love for it to be more unstructured, but like, is your child fulfilled, maybe not with playing high school soccer, but playing basketball, running track, like playing tennis? Like, can they still have that same fulfillment that they can fit it in without, doing 4 hours of soccer every night, and risking injury, especially if they want to play in all these overuse injuries. We have so many overuse injuries already. I mean, I would say my daughter's playing minimum of 10 hours of structured soccer a week, and she's 10. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot with, games and trainings and extra technical trainings and stuff like that. I would love for there to be some unstructured play, whether it's like a
this is something you and I talked about, yeah.
Like a pickup, like once a quarter, like having a safe space for every age, like have the older kids have a mentoring leadership opportunity to mentor the little ones. Even having parent representatives say, this is when we started the process. Like, if you start traveling to Iowa, like we did last weekend, like, can you go to a small school like Augustana, like, to see what the campus looks like? I know it seems so far outreach, like, to do that, but, like, can you make that into a better experience? Like, can you, I don't know, I think that there's the leadership, the 3v3, like, let's play, once a quarter, let's, like, just go show up to the fields. Anybody that wants to play. I know Chen does that at Lufew's, in July. Anybody that wants to come, let's just play. Like, I feel like once a week, let's just...
And keep the adults out of it, keep the structure. And Jamie, I was listening to Mike Sorber or Brad Davis, and I can't remember who said that, but one of them was very much also, it's interesting because they're both been part of very structured systems.
Yeah.
But they were talking about, like, somebody said street soccer almost, like learning.
Yeah, that was Sorber.
Sorber, okay.
Yeah, and it's a common denominator. Lori Klupny, when she came on, she made it clear that, in asking these exact same questions, she's like, let kids go in the backyard and just compete. Figure out a way to win while you're having fun, because there's only so much, quote, training or, quote, development that you can do until you fill a brain and a body with so much stuff that doesn't have anything to do with learning how to win, or how to have fun. And, a lot of the old guard that, we are all around and we talk to and our own experiences, we can pull out memorable, measurable instances in which it had nothing to do with skill. It had everything to do with the environment and that moment and that game. If it was in the street or gutters or sewers.
Well, I mean, if you talk to the professional players, or I could have my daughter ask the men's national team tomorrow.
There you go.
Like, what really made them different? Like, what do they think they did, or their experience, or as you mentioned in the very beginning, like, who was the most influential, outside of your family, what coaches and stuff like that. But really, I mean, sure, they put me in the right direction and guided me, but it was the SOAR soccer. It was the 1v1 with my brother in the backyard. And I wonder, like, even, as a parent of obviously a 10-year-old, like, are we too scared to let our kids go outside and play? Like, do we have too much of a helicopter? Are we too structured in our life? Like, oh, I'm working here and you have to go to aftercare and you have to do this, and today you have tutoring and then you have to do this, and before you know it, like, they left the house at 7 a.m. and they're not getting home till 7, and they're 10 years old.
Right.
Shower, homework, go to bed, and it's like, is that a good quality of life either? So,
well, how many times do we see parents, within our friend group, peer group, our kids' teams, where it's just so blatantly obvious that what they're really doing is they're projecting their own expectations.
Sure.
Not only from a playing perspective, but a pathway perspective. It could be even financially driven, like, oh no, I need this scholarship because that's the only way I as the parent, can pay for their soccer. So these kids are like attempting to play a game, and so much of that pressure is really coming from the, the calls coming from within the house. I mean, that's the reality of the situation in the majority of these cases. What would you, because you've been at the highest level, you've seen it, you've coached it, you now have a little one going through the process yourself. Throw some tips out there to a parent, like
these tips on your paper I'm really interested in.
Well, like how to reflect. What should you be, potentially focusing on if there's one or two things, as opposed to, the expectations that most parents have as far as playing time, winning, scholarship. Take those out. What should parents be talking to kids about when they get in the car?
Well, maybe I'm old school, but I think really purely a good human being, because you're not really going to miss. I mean, we want these competitive children, right? They're just intrinsically motivated. They want to win, and we want to win. But at the end of the day, they're really not going to remember all the wins and losses. They're going to remember points in time. So getting in the car and saying, I can't believe you didn't make that run. I can't believe you didn't do that. Like, that's not helping. Like, what do you think you could have done better? Was there a situation you were really scared in the game? Like, those kind of open-ended questions. The same thing with, like, how are you going to make your kid, like, if your kid, like, when I always asked in college, like, when we were recruiting, like, if your kid gets hurt in the first week in preseason and can't play anymore, like, is your kid going to love this environment? Like, are they going to love this school? Are they going to love the class load? Do they have the major that you're potentially... It's the same thing with club. Like, if you're playing for a jerk, that is not conducive to your shy little kid, like, find a different environment. Like, I feel like we're constantly like, we have to live with the Joneses. We have to do this private training. We have to do this. Like, I mean, obviously private training provides an extra income for people, so I wouldn't say negative about it, because it is great, especially when you have a lot of clubs that they're getting so big so quickly that they're group training, instead of, back in the day we had one team and the 10 of us or whatever, we trained every day, we knew everything about each other.
Your coach held a beer while he was coaching you.
And your parents at hotel parking lots were barbecuing and passing out. I know, it's a totally...
Builds character.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's hard to pull back and pause. And I think as a parent, we go ourselves, and we have to do this, and we have to fit this in. And I think sometimes just pausing in our own little world and just saying, is this a good fit for my kid? Is this the best? Do they need to play in this high-level club? Are they okay with a lower-level club? Are they okay with a parent coach? Do they need a qualified coach with an A or B license? Like, I think sometimes we have to reflect as parents, but the hard part is, like, sometimes you just don't even know what to ask, right? You don't know what the question. Even like, you think about our family is going through some medical issues with our family, our parents right now. Like, sometimes you don't even know what to ask the physician, like, about the care. And it's the same thing. Sometimes I feel like that's why mentoring and
almost like a parent advocate.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like,
teaching kids empathy, through that process of just engaging. Jason Glover, I thought, said it best when he was describing Caden at an early age. One of the best life lessons for the child as a player was from playing up all the time. He was often on teams that would lose. So he, at a young age, actually learned how to lose and was okay with it. Whereas in most cases now in our clubs, we pinch the pressure of the kids to the top, and then this 1A, 1B, 1C, and and once you slot them over into their leagues and divisions, they don't lose.
Well, frankly, you'll have clubs that, and big and medium-sized clubs, usually small clubs maybe only have one team, but they won't even play their, maybe they've got two pretty good similar level teams. Right. They won't play them against each other because they don't want to have one lose to each other. And that's part of it. You have to learn how to lose. It sucks to lose to your friends, but you have to learn that. And I was interested, though, before we run out of time, is you mentioned being a dietitian. I think that's super important. And you've got I love this little list of, you've said several times, building human beings, right? If they're a 1%er, I'd like them to be a good human being. And if they decide after whatever year, my 17-year-old's not playing anymore. I hope he's gotten something from the sport to make him a good human being. And I see nutrition on that list.
Yeah, are they a 1% without Brussels sprouts?
Yeah.
Please don't say I don't like that
Put
one.
balsamic on the top of it. Put it in the air
No, they're
fryer.
still not good. I have not tasted one good Brussels sprout. I don't care where it comes from, but I'll eat other greens. I don't like them.
I just think, again, pausing and level setting. Like, where do you really want your child to be? Like, do you really want them to go Division I? Do you really want them to go to a community college because they were able to get all their A1 or A+ program and have them go to a community college? Like, I think really, I advocate for just like pausing, like breathing, but at the end of the day, like, yes, I have talked about it a couple of times, like developing good humans that are transferable skills, not only to soccer, but whether you're a professional player. You have to be able to talk to a manager, you have to be able to talk to an agent, you have to be able to talk to a coach, and you have to be able to look them in the eye. So simple things like I make my daughter order food at a restaurant. Like, people are like, no, I'm like, no, you can order food and you can make eye contact.
Yeah.
So, the advocacy of yourself and having the self-worth and the confidence and nutrition, I think, is a big deal. It's overlooked. It's even when I was a dietitian at Mercy Hospital, and then I decided, well, probably not the best candidate for saying, oh, you just had a heart attack, but you can't have bacon and donuts. And they're like, whatever. And so then I progressed, and I actually built a computer system that feeds all the patients at Mercy. And so it's a fun dynamic. And so, but nutrition plays such a big role, like, people, they're in the academies now, they're spending more time with that.
Bree, we know, is super stringent with players about, like, even timing. Like, by this time in the morning, if you got an 8 a.m. game, your food should already be in your system working itself. Right. Coach Gunther,
I was going to say, Sarah, same thing.
Yeah,
she had a backpack full of rice cakes ready to go, just for energy.
Well, just even asking for help, like, whether it's asking for help because I want to become a better center midfielder, or asking for help because I really think that goalkeeping training is better for me than, working on my skill, my feet, like, and I can't even think of the word, but, working in the field, I need more confidence, going out and attacking or working on these corner kicks. Is it okay? Like, advocating for yourself. Like, ultimately, I'm not taking away from the soccer experience because, right, we want to make the best, most technical, tactical players that we possibly can in these clubs, right? Because that's what we want and that's their interest. But I do think there's a missing part to the game that is ultimately whether you play just because you love to play, you play in college, you play professionally, you represent the United States. Like, you have to be a good representative and you have to, like, love yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's, that's a whole nother topic. But mental illness, we're not here to fix mental illness, but we're here to provide a safe place for people to play in a community. And these clubs, if they can continue to build the community around them and then the brand, ultimately, whether you go to a private or public, you're proud. St. Louis is like almost like a church and state. Like, I play for St. Louis Gallagher. You play for Lou Hughes. Like, I don't like you because you did that. It's like one of the
Hatfields and McCoys.
Right. It's like one or the other. So, anyway, so thank you for your time.
Yeah,
and thanks for letting me come on. I'm so
awesome.
honored.
Real quick though, like on the nutrition part, because I'm super interested. Like, do you put your daughter on, like, hey, it's game day, we're not eating a donut, like a chocolate blueberry muffin from we're at a Panera right here is not maybe the only thing you should do? Is she kind of follow a regimen?
Well, I tease myself even that, like, her lunches are better than my lunches. This morning I'm like cutting up cucumbers and tomatoes and,
oh man,
giving her a nice like turkey and cheese and higher protein, lunch, and here, I'm eating Panera. So no, she does eat. We try to eat as much protein as we can. But, she's a kid, and so she still does love it. She would prefer a donut, but
not eating just a bag of barbecue chips before a game, or
she's almost to the tween years. So it's very critical that nutrition is really set in stone,
because she needs a lot of energy to give you a ton of shit.
Sugar is not
keep
one
it
of
coming.
them.
You better not be trading your lunch at school for some Cheetos.
Yeah, she does love Cheetos. She just told me that's her favorite chip right now. She's still a kid, right? You still have to kind of fit in a little bit, right? But just being more aware. It's just like in anything in life. You just need to be more aware of what's going around your surrounding, your environment, your support. Like, who's supportive? Is it your coach? Is it the person running your club? Is it your mom's best friend or your dad's? But, just being smart. So, yeah, we could talk nutrition on another time.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's good to hear, though, because it's a kind of like a holistic and I just love that. It's like, talking about skills transferable to live, which, I mean, I know, I didn't know it at the time, but I look back to soccer, look back to softball or whatever I played, being like, oh, those were building blocks, when you have to talk to your coach or you have to receive constructive criticism or that you didn't want to hear and figure out how to take it.
What is a captain? A coach will say, you're the captain for the weekend or you're the captain for this game. Well, what does a captain really mean? It's a leader. What are the characteristics,
Right there. I saw a coach actually do that at a small club, and we did our mindset training session, and they weren't not leaving. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. I was cleaning up, and her name is Erin. She lives at Kolping, and she was asked, she said, it's time to pick captains. And I thought, oh, captain picking with kids. It's usually a popularity contest, right? And she had them each take a sticky, and they agreed on, she put on a board, like, what do we believe are good elements? You don't have to have them all, but like, what are good elements of a leader?
Right.
And like kids start, first it was like, it's communication, or and then they start talking about some other stuff. So they kind of agreed to what it was, and then they each got to put like on a piece of paper 3 people. And she did tell them, she's like, at the end of the day, one of the picks are mine, and then I'll go with the other. And I thought, wow, what a great. I'd never seen it done like that. I'd never learned it.
There's so much more than the coin toss.
Yeah. Yeah,
right, exactly.
To being a captain.
Oh my God, I'm a great captain. It's heads.
I won. Guessed it.
But even like your mission and vision, like if you think about your business world and like your leadership, like are you your manager? Are you a CEO of your company? Are you a CFO? Like, could that have played a role? I don't know. Maybe one weekend of being a captain is probably not going to make or break. But are we talking about like what that entails? Like, are we talking about what is our mission or what is our vision? Like, I do know, like, Ren Herzog, he spends, and Chris Gomez, they spend every week, they talk about the mission and vision, and we're going to talk this week is about hard work, and here's what it does, and this is what it means. So, like, but then in your, in your jobs, there's mission and vision. So I think we're only helping our kids if we're giving them the buzzwords that's going to make them successful in life.
I agree.
I love it.
Well played.
That's why she was a 1%er.
She was a 1%er?
is
yes.
a 1%er.
No, yeah, I caught that.
Like,
for sure.
I didn't
for
say
sure.
that. We'll edit that out. Awesome. Go ahead.
Jackie, thank you so much, Ty. So just from somebody who grew up literally on the same pitches, playing against you, eventually with you, which I love so much better. And then also you get to know players sometimes as your moms or dads or whatever together on the sidelines and being like, remember that time? Or looking at your kid and being like, did you seriously lose another water bottle? Are you kidding me? Or having these experiences together too is something that I think we all get from the game, being former athletes in the game. So I just appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it too. And it is fun now to, see people that you played with, at pitchers or at practices, and to be able to talk about your experience versus what the kids are saying. Like, that's a whole nother topic. Like, are they better players than we are? Like, we were better players than they are. Like, do they know the game better than we did? No, we don't.
I will give them the technical side, but we were definitely tougher.
Oh, for sure.
There's a big
the
difference.
mindset.
Yeah. There was the grit. Grit was born of
That's
probably
because of the
that
unstructured play at home, right?
There you go.
All unstructured.
Playing your brother 1v1.
Yeah, exactly.
Losing soccer, fine. Let's go play basketball.
Exactly. Let's
Just
bring
keep
it full
going through the
circle.
sports till you win. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank
It was
you guys
awesome.
for having
Thank you.
me.
Coach Jen, until next time.
Until next time.
Remind people where to follow us and what their homework is regarding the show and your website.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the Soccer Dad Pod. So I know it's Soccer Mom Sunday, but it's found where Soccer Dad Pod is housed. So you can find it. The logo's a little different, looks a little different, and you can find it there. And usually it's on any place, right, JB? You can stream,
Yeah.
but Podbean is a place you could go.
Yeah, you go to Podbean, Apple, Spotify, all of it. Check these episodes out. Send them to a friend because plenty of our friends need some therapy. This is cheap. It's a lot cheaper than an actual office visit and a copay. Thanks for joining us. We're going to roll out with a little AC/DC, Long Way to the Top, right?
That's right.
That's
National
right.
champions.
Until next time, we'll see you guys.